Good morning, afternoon, or evening, my fellow horror seekers. Welcome to my channel, where I'll be posting scary stories both in English and Spanish. Today I bring you the legend of La Lomita Chapel in Mission, Texas. This story takes place in the city of Mission, Texas, which is located in deep South Texas, only miles away from the U.S.-Mexico border. The La Lomita Chapel was built on higher ground by a French merchant from Reynosa, Mexico in 1865, and he left the site to the French Order of Oblates in 1871. The Oblate missionaries were called the Cavalry of Christ. They rode up and down the Rio Grande Valley, visiting Catholic churches. In 1899, the La Lomita Chapel was rebuilt and had 3 priests and several nuns. A few months just after the priests and nuns moved in, the priests began to sleep with the nuns. The nuns would get pregnant and would be hidden away from view of the people and worshippers. When asked about the nuns, they would usually say that they were out on a religious retreat. Once the nuns gave birth, they would reappear as if they had returned from their trips. The babies, however, suffered much grimmer fates. People began to whisper that they would hear cries of babies in and around the church, where there should be no such babies. The priests and nuns started to fear that they would be discovered, and it is said that they murdered the babies and buried them at night near the woods and lands behind the church. One day the area of Mission was hit by a hurricane. The low-lying areas were devastated by the wind and amount of water produced by the hurricane. The areas were flooded and La Lomita Chapel was heavily damaged and flooded. As the days passed and the water receded, people from the area came to help clean up and reconstruct the La Lomita Chapel in a sign of solidarity with the church. A few of the workers working in the area found bones of a baby sticking out from what appeared to be a shallow grave. They began to scream, and other people working in the area gathered around to see the horrifying images behind the chapel, and shortly after, more bones were found in other shallow graves in the same general area. The priests and the nuns made a cowardice retreat into the chapel and locked themselves inside their sleeping quarters and refused to come out. The word quickly spread in the town and angered residents of the area. They showed up at the church intent on bringing justice by their own hands. During the chaos, one priest managed to climb out the window and escaped. However, the other 2 priests and the nuns were captured. Once captured, the 2 priests were beaten to death, while the nuns were stripped naked of their religious clothing, and they were only able to cover up with potato sacks. It is unknown what happened to the nuns, as no one would talk or say where the nuns were taken and what was done to them. La Lomita Chapel was empty for a while after the incident, and some claim the bones of the priests who were killed were left there, outside the chapel walls, as a reminder of the gruesome events that unfolded at La Lomita. Shortly after, people reported hearing babies crying and other horrific sounds, even though the chapel remained unoccupied. After some time, they built a 3-story building only a few hundred yards away from the chapel, which was a training center for novice priests. There were reports of strange lights, sounds, screams, and apparitions throughout the years, and the training center was soon abandoned as well. One common apparition seen by passersby was that of a translucent nun, either standing in the window or floating near the church. There are other weird happenings as well. The ghost of an innocent girl killed during the storming of the church is said to appear on the grounds. She is always seen in a prayer position with her head bowed. The apparition is said to turn into a fog-like mist as it loses shape and disappears. The church was eventually permanently closed and the La Lomita Park was introduced. Not many people dare to visit the park after dark. Have you visited or had an experience of your own at La Lomita Park in Mission?